Recording.
Okay, got it. All right, good afternoon to all of you. This is our last Mission Possible guest. We're very excited because this Friday is the big day where all of you are going to be bringing in your designs and all the hard work that you guys have been doing for the past 2 or maybe 3 months is going to be at display on Friday. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what you guys are going to experience this Friday. But for now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring in, let me go ahead and just talk about the mission that all of you had. All of you were given 20 acres of land located in the city of Crowley. Using the engineering design process, your team transformed itself to a landscaping, you transformed yourself into landscaping engineers that developed a space where the community will be able to enjoy nature and outdoor activities. You will also have a focus on the protection of an endangered species whose habitat is in the city of Crowley. And your team will bring awareness to the species and transform an area of the land into its habitat. Your team is going to pitch those ideas to the committee for approval. And many of you, if you're already in this stage, your project was already approved. And so this Friday, you will be competing in front of judges. And we'll talk more about what that's going to look like after our guest speaker speaks. So our guest speaker today, her name is Yvette Valencia, and that is my sister. She is a national park photographer, but she really takes pictures of a lot of different things, but that's the thing that she does. In the daytime, she is an IRS investigator, in a very high rank in Ohio. So that's where she resides. But after that, all she does is do national park photography from really all around the world. So it's photography from all over the world. And she specializes in nature. And so as we were talking about this, I kept asking her, please come and speak to our students and our staff about what you do for possible last minute ideas that you might want to incorporate in your project. So she has over 20 years of experience in photography, and she goes everywhere. So because she works remotely for the IRS, she works all day in different locations, mountains, volcanoes, and then in the afternoon, she goes and does all the photography. So we're very excited to have her here. Yvette, do you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Hi, everybody. So yes, I started photography actually in middle school. So I started volunteering to do the yearbook in middle school and then progressed to doing it in high school. And then after that, I did it in college. So I have a lot of experience in photography. I love taking nature photography. The reason why is because when you take pictures of people, a lot of people complain like, oh, you didn't take it right. And you have to take like a million pictures of them just to get that one picture right. When you do nature photography, you're out in a forest or, anywhere where there's nobody around and you can take as many pictures as you want and nobody's complaining, tell me, take this picture again or this way or this way. You can just take your time and just take any kind of nature photography alone by yourself without nobody saying anything. So that's why I like doing nature photography.
One of the things about her that I will always remember, and anybody who wants to go into photography in this kind of field, is that when my sister was in college, and I'm going to tell the story, this is important, right? When she was in college, she was not accepted into the photography school because there was this professor who said that her angles, everything was not the way, like she didn't possess those skills. Right. What's funny is that years after, she actually competed against this professor and won, and she went on to do, and anyways, tell the story on that.
Yeah, so I didn't get into the school of photography, but I still wanted to take some courses. At the time, I wanted to do film photography. So I wanted to learn how to take film photography and how to develop in the darkroom. So I took this course in college. So the professor is like, okay, we're going to have a contest, do whatever you need to do, enter the contest and things like that. So while we were doing that and preparing for everything, the professor will come around and look at everybody's pictures to see how everybody was doing. And I remember she came to mine and she says, I don't think you should be in this class. This is not a good photography. I don't think you're going to, you should enter. It's not going to be any good. And I was like, okay, I still kept going because, photography, it depends on the eye of the beholder, right? Somebody else might not like it, but somebody else will like your picture. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I went ahead and still continued doing my photography, doing what I like to do, and take pictures of what I like to do, which was nature. So I went ahead and developed it. I actually printed it out. I developed it, put it in a frame, entered the contest, and I did win. I did win the contest, and I did win money. And I guess everybody's in Fort Worth, right? This is Fort Worth.
Yeah, this is Fort Worth.
So if anybody knows the college, Texas Wesleyan University, if you ever go there, my picture is there because it won the award, and it's hung in the permanent art collection at Texas Wesleyan University. So I thought that was pretty cool. And my professor was not happy, but I was like, hey, you should be happy because, one of your students won. It doesn't matter what the picture was. It was actually of a light post with trees behind it. That's what the picture was.
Yeah, so other than that, like I said, everywhere she goes, everywhere she could be, she can come here. She lives in Ohio. Sometimes she's at my mom's house working, and next thing you know, she's in Washington in national parks taking pictures. So with her, some of the things that she has shared with me, and I hope you guys can see the screen. Yes. So for nature photography, Yvette expressed, my sister expressed that it's because it's an ever-changing subject. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so nature photography I love nature photography because you can do different seasons. So you can do spring, where all the flowers are coming out, which right now, I guess Texas, we have the bluebonnets. Mm-hmm. Okay, you have all kinds of the cherry blossoms over here in Ohio, take pictures of cherry blossoms. And then you have fall, the changing of the leaves, which is very beautiful over here. So you can take pictures of that. And then you have winter, which the snow, so you can take all kinds of pictures. I can go to a park one day and take one picture and then go back the next, few months, take the same area of the picture, but it'll look completely different because it's a different season. And so that's why I like that type of nature photography.
Okay, so the second thing that you also mentioned with nature photography is that you can be one with nature. And I have to bring in that my sister has what I call her baby child, which is her dog. And It's her and her dog. Her name is Layla. I don't know if she's around there with you.
She is.
Yeah, but Layla is her partner in crime, but both of them, they are everywhere in remote places. But you mentioned that you could be one with nature.
Yeah. So whenever you're out in the park or somewhere, some trail, something like that, always try to find any kind of trail where and usually I'll go early in the mornings because nobody ever wakes up early, or really late at night, for sunset, because nobody really goes during that time. So you can actually be there by yourself. And you can just meditate, take pictures, relax, take pictures, and nobody's there to bother you. You can just take your time, do whatever you need to do, take pictures of different things. I like taking pictures of leaves as well, or any kind of insects that are there. I take pictures of that too. So that's why you just become one with, the area that you're around with, in that area.
Or sometimes you take pictures of a wildflower that grew out of nowhere, like where this comes, or a rock. She sends us pictures of a rock she found interesting.
Everybody, and remember, whenever you do photography, it's all about the photographer. It's what, how do you see it, and then other people interpret your picture. You might see it one thing and somebody else can see it a different way, but it's all about, what are you looking at? What are you seeing? How do you feel about this picture? And that's the good thing about this type of photography.
And then the third thing you said is that photography is easily accessible. It can happen at any time, any place.
Right. So I can just go, we have a lake that's close to my house. So I usually after work, I go to the lake with my dog, and every day is a different type of picture because the sunset, or it's raining, or it's something's always going on in that lake, and you can take different kinds of pictures depending on the day and time. So it's, I can just go there, and since you're in Fort Worth, you can just go to any park. I guess Trinity Park would be the closest one, I think. I don't know what, you can just go to the park at any time of the day and start taking pictures of trees, or just of the river, of anything, the sunset hitting the river, something like that.
You also talked about, which goes along with everything you're saying. I mean, you do have a pretty tough job. You're an IRS investigator. You're a supervisor. You do something with that, and sometimes it can get grueling in the office or having to work all day with serious governmental things. But you said this is also a way for you to relax and be stress-free.
Right. So yes, I'm a criminal investigator for the
Thank you.
federal government. And yes, it's very stressful. I work from 6 in the morning to 2 p.m. It doesn't seem like a long day, but it really is. It's a lot to deal with. So something that relaxes me is right after work, I know that I can just pick up my camera, get my dog, and then just take off to some kind of hiking trail and, start taking pictures. And usually my dog is my subject too. So I'll take pictures of my dog facing trees or something like that too. So yes, very relaxing. And my dog loves it because she gets to get out of the house.
And her dog is completely white. It's a white dog. So sometimes she sends the family pictures. It's like, can you see Layla? And we can't because it's snow everywhere. And we're like, everybody's trying to find where is she at.
Right. So yeah, so it snows a lot over here. So sometimes I'll take my dog's collar out and I'll just let Layla walk. And then I'll take a picture of it and I'll send it to the family and say, hey, can you find Layla? And she's there, but she's white. But because it's snowing and she's the color of the snow, you're not able to see her. So it's pretty, I think it's pretty cool.
All right. The next topic, you said everybody loves nature. Even if you say you don't love it, everybody loves it.
Yeah, especially now springtime, everybody loves the blue bonnets. I wish I was in Texas to see the blue bonnets. Those are beautiful flowers. Yeah, anything that it's natural, I guess, you don't really have to do anything. It's already there. And because it rains and the sun, all these flowers grow. So, it's beautiful. And I do believe everybody loves just looking at it.
I know you lived in Austin for many years, and that's where you fell in love with the blue bonnets and Lady Bird Lake, and you do a lot of canoeing and a lot of, what's it called? Like when you put, it looks like
paddleboarding,
and you take a lot of pictures in that angle.
Yes, it's there's a place in Austin where it's the 360 bridge where you just go on top of this hill. It's made out of rocks and you take pictures of different angles. So I really like doing that. And there's a lot of trees, there's a little hiking trail and things like that. You can, like I said, every time you go anywhere, you can take different pictures because the season changes, the lighting is different, things like that. So, anytime you go anywhere, the picture's always going to look different.
Yeah. And then last one, you said that why nature photography? It's because it raises the profile on the environment. So can you talk more about that? Because some of us, I had never traveled to so many national parks like you do, but you bring awareness to so many people through your Instagram, through your profile, social media about the different parts of the environment.
Right. So the reason why I also like nature photography and I like going to different places because I know that a lot of people never travel anywhere and I want to give them that experience through Instagram or Facebook or something like that, so that they can see not what they're missing because a lot of them cannot travel, but something that they can enjoy looking at. And that's why I love posting nature photography on my Instagram. And it's true, it's raising awareness. I bet a lot of people didn't know there's 36 national parks. There's more, there's other like a monument and stuff like that, but there's actual 36 national parks. And a lot of people don't know that.
and right now that's your goal, is to visit all 36 and bring back pictures of all of them. Yes.
I'm trying to do just more like not a book per se, but just something that more like a little travel book with pictures that I take from all the parks or just anywhere that I go.
Now, one thing that it doesn't really fall into nature and photography, but historical landmarks. My sister went in the journey of 6 years ago that she was going to visit every capital of every state in the United States. So what now? You're in number what, 48?
I'm 46. So I've done 46 state capitals. So yeah, so my goal is to do all 50 capitals, including the nation's capital, which is Washington, D.C. So it'll be 51 in total. And then my goal is to do all of those. In order for it to count, I have to take a picture in front of the Capitol. And then after that, I have to take just pictures of the Capitol by itself and then one with me in it. So that's the only way that I count them.
And she's trying to eventually turn this into a book where people will be able to go and get to know all the capitals in a perspective of a photographer.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So knowing that these are students who are going to do the last minute things on their environmental, on their projects, what would be one idea that you absolutely, if you had 20 acres of land, what would be a tip that you would give students as like, this is a must have if a nature photographer is going to be in your area?
Okay, so I need on the acres, is there trees? What is there? Is it flat
It's
land?
what we just gave them the 20 acres and they can develop whatever they want on it. And so a lot of them have developed like a playground. Some of them have an animal that they're preserving. But as far as like for a nature photography, and you're also a hiker, and what would be the one thing that you would say, hey, or several things, tips that you would give if you had your 20 acres, what would you put in your 20 acres to support photography?
But also for the 20, they had 3 different land profiles to pick from. So one is basically like a flat land where there's nothing there. Another one has a lake connected to it. And then another one's kind of treed with some hills and things like that. So depending on what they're wanting to do, so they all have their advantages and disadvantages based on what their plans are.
So I can build my own based on any of those 3 options.
Yes.
I would probably do the lake. I don't know. I guess I would do something with waterfalls and a lot of trees. So whichever of that option would be the best for me, that's what I would do.
She's been sending everybody, she's been posting, she's really been advocating for waterfalls lately. It's nothing but
Yes.
waterfall pictures that are coming out. But what would be the one thing you would tell a student? Like for me, you know, I don't do what you do. I do it occasionally where I go to state parks. So one of the things that I told a group of students is like, give me a trail that has a lot of trees, but don't clear out the trees. Give me something nature, and I want flowers. I would love to have flowers around. What is one thing that you would give a tip to students?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a trail that leads to a waterfall. How about that? And the trail goes behind the waterfalls, where you have to go behind the waterfall and take pictures from inside the trail, from the waterfall looking out.
Yeah.
So that's, you know, it just depends on the photographer, the person, because everybody has different views. You know, some people might not say, oh, I don't really like waterfalls. I want a plain land with, you know, a lot of buffaloes just roaming around, which I do have a lot of pictures of that. So, you know, it just depends on the person and what they like and what they see as a vision. Everybody's vision is going to be different.
Well, can I piggyback on that for a second? I guess
Yeah.
kind of follow-up question to what about the safety side of it? Not so much as like danger, but since part of this is also building, you know, trying to build back a species, whether it's a plant or an animal or something like that, where you want to provide the access to take pictures of the animal, but you also, or plant, but you also don't want to
Be in danger.
right, that, or, you know, you don't want to be stepping on plants or, you know, things like that where you're trying to protect, but also
Right.
want to enjoy it.
Right. So when it comes to, let's say, a flat land with the animal. So let's say, for example, I went to South Dakota and they had the Cutler Park. So you're able to be in your car. They won't let you get out of the car because there's a lot of buffaloes, but you can put yourself in an angle inside your car, roll down the window, and then able to take pictures of the buffaloes that way, so that you'll still be in the safe, you know, state, and you're not harming, you know, the plants, flowers, and you're not harming the buffaloes. And that's, you know, you don't want them to harm you or you harm them. So the same thing, there was a lot of donkeys there. I'm not sure why there's donkeys there next to the buffaloes. But yeah, so when it comes to like animals, you still want to be far enough. So you'll want to have like a good lens to do that. So you'll be far enough where you can still take the picture and be, you know, and be safe.
Hey, was that a conservation space for buffaloes?
No, they're just like in the prairie land. They're free.
Oh. All
which is
right.
amazing. There's no fence, there's nothing.
So
It's
you
very
just,
amazing.
you just sit in your car and you just kind of take pictures of everything that's happening around you.
And there's about 8 miles worth of road, and it's 8 miles worth of buffaloes. They're just roaming around free. No fence, no nothing.
I
So
wish
it's
I
not
had a
like-
picture of that I could have posted.
It's not like it's not like a zoo where everything's like they're all caged up. They're free, like a free land. It's amazing. It's on my Instagram.
We'll give everybody your Instagram so they'll start looking at it at the end. So this is what I'm gonna do now. I picked some of the latest pictures you had on your Instagram. So tell us where you're at, why the angle, and what did you like about that, okay? So this
Okay.
is one of them. Tell us more about this kind of trail.
So this one's at the Red River Gorge in Kentucky. And this one actually, when I got to that part where you see there, I had already hiked about 3 miles. And from the angle there I'm at, so I'm looking, so it looks like I'm looking up, right? Because I am going up a hill. And I just love the angle because it looks like you're kind of turning, but not really. And I was already tired by this point, but I took the picture and I think it came out good. But
And
yes.
I noticed that handmade, right? Even though it's nature, somebody's put a trail already on there, the stepping stones and the trail and the rail around it.
Right, so for this park, the entire trail is already paved. So, and that is to protect the nature around it. So everybody should, you remember, always stay in the trail, never leave the trail. So always stay in the trail. And so this trail is already paved for, people who are hiking. So, always stay in the trail.
All right, what about this one here? Where are you at?
This is called Mahaltma Falls. I think did I pronounce it right? Multnomah Falls. It's a very famous waterfall, and this is in Oregon. So this is already on top, close to the waterfall. And as you can see, that white stuff is actual ice. So I was actually carrying a stick going up because if I didn't, I would have fell down. So I got a stick that was already on the floor, and I just, I used it as a cane to assist me. But I'm really up in the mountain for this one.
Is it really cold? Very, very cold.
It was really cold and very icy. As you can see, all that's ice. So the entire trail was like that.
Wow. All right, what about, oh, this is the same trail going up?
No, this is a different trail going to a different waterfall. So this one, I took a picture of this one because of the trees. It's very beautiful. They're really, really tall. I've never seen trees that tall. And even the grass on the side by the rock, I don't know what, I guess mulch or whatever it's called. I don't know. But it's really green. And I really like that a lot. So it makes, I think that's the one that stands out the most, is that green patch on the right-hand side of that picture.
Oh, this is the same one. Where are you at? Now, you're not in the US on this one.
No, I'm in Galapagos Island on this one. And that one, all the seals are just roaming around. So on this one, he's just laying there having a good time. So I was like, oh, this is a good picture. I wish, I put this on my Instagram one day. It was like a Monday morning. It's like, oh, this is how I feel. Like, I don't want to go to work. So I posted this picture.
And for those of you who don't know, we're from Ecuador, South America, and the Galapagos Island belongs to our country. So I have never been. My sister has been she just came back from like a month over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's nothing but nature, nature, nature over there.
If you go, whenever, and if anybody wants to go to my Instagram, you'll see all the pictures, and they're in order of where I go. And you'll see a lot of these pictures of the animal. So on this one, I'm not really close to this one. It seems like I'm really close to it, but I'm really not close to it. I have a bigger lens, so I focused in on the seal.
All right, where are you at? I really like this picture. Where are you at on this?
So this one is Oregon. I was going on a trail, and that bridge is actually a road, and you wouldn't be able to tell it's a road from there, really, because it has all that green on it. But yeah, it was just on a hiking trail, and I can see the road from behind, that bridge, which is the road. But what I liked about it is it's all the green on the trees. It makes it really stand out.
That's not a rope, right? That's a branch.
Yeah, no, that's a branch.
All right, so here's a famous picture.
Yeah, so on this one, it looks really close, but it's not. I have a long lens to make it look really close, but it's actually really far away. So anybody who's been there, you'll be able to see that it's, you know, it's really far away. They won't let you get really close. And I wish they would, but they wouldn't, you know, they won't even let you go to the top of it. So that was disappointing, but it's just the lens that makes it look closer.
Can you tell the students where it's from, what's his name, and what it's a national symbol? Tell us more about where it is. And
I believe, is it South Dakota or is it North Dakota? I think it's one of the Dakotas. How about that? I think it's South Dakota.
yeah,
I'm gonna say South Dakota, and that's Mount Rushmore. It's Mount Rushmore in South Dakota. That's one of your it's a national monument. Not national park, not national monument, which there's I think 136 of those. So yeah. So this one is in Galapagos Island. It's a pelican. And once again, the green makes the picture stand out, and that's why I took it. You can't really see the, what is it, the seagull, whatever that is. And I'm not really close to it either. I'm a little bit far away. So I'm nowhere clear next to it. I have a long lens that took that picture.
and tell us more, because in the Galapagos Island is nothing but conservation. So it's not like you can only go to certain areas.
Yeah, so in Galapagos Islands, it's forbidden to touch any of the animals. You can go to prison for that. So they tell you not to be close to them, not to touch them. And if they see you touching it, you can go to jail and then prison, because they're very, what is it? I can't think of the word. They're instinct? No,
Yeah, it could be instinct or endangered.
endangered. There you go. They're endangered. And so they don't want anybody touching these animals. So you have to stay kind of far away and just take the picture from far away.
All right, and then the last one, which again, this is in Ecuador as well. That's our home country.
Yes, and this one is actually on a volcano. It's called Cotopaxi volcano. So we climbed, it took us about 3 miles to just get to that portion of it. And I took it because, as you can, it looks like we're really high up, and we are really high up there. But I think the person, there's somebody in the yellow. So I think that stood out to me from everything that's white and grayish. You can see that person with the yellow coat on there. So that's what stood out to me when I took the picture.
And this is actually an active volcano.
It is an active volcano. It is. And it was very cold. And the group that I went with, there was about 6 of us, only 2 or 3 made it to the top. Everybody else couldn't do it because you run out of air and they couldn't breathe. And so they had to come back down.
But now my sister, she's like, I'm gonna make it all the way to the top. I made it this far.
I did. I mean, I didn't travel all the way over there just to, you know, say no. So it took me a long time, but I made it to the top.
So to finish up, before we answer any questions, tell me about the most memorable park. And I know you're probably like, all of them are, but what's the one that you were just amazed nationwide? It could be Machu Picchu, it could be anything. Well, what would be the one? It could be in England. Which one's the one that you're like, I wish I could go back to? Besides Fort Worth, Texas.
The one I can go back to, probably the one in South Dakota. So the Badlands National Park. And it's just, I can't even describe it. It's just mountains and mountains of like rocks and stuff. And it's different. I feel like I didn't really get to do a big research on it, but I think there was a volcano there at one time or something. It's just deep mountains and mountains. There's just weird stuff there. And so I would go back just to stay longer.
Okay.
Get more pictures, different sunrise pictures. I usually try to do sunrise and then sunset. So I usually go back twice so I can get different angles.
While I go ahead and start asking you questions on the chat, you have a trip that's coming up with our cousins, and you guys are going to go, what is it, sandboarding? Like instead of snowboarding, it's sandboarding, like with the sands.
Well, they won't. No, it's going to be the Sleeping Bear National Park. I think it's a national park or state park. And it's very it's just a lot of dunes, sand dunes. And it's going to take about 3 hours to climb up it. And if you need help, it's $3,000 for somebody to come rescue you. That's how high the dune is.
Yeah, and so if you get stuck, for them to help you, you have to have $3,000 and they'll come
Yeah.
rescue you.
They'll come rescue
So-
you.
So my
Yeah, they
sister-
won't let you sandboard there because I think a lot of people will get stuck.
Yeah, so we're all betting that somebody, either one of my cousins or my sister will get stuck and we're gonna be Venmoing her the money.
Yeah, there's
So let's see what
that's
happens then.
$3,000. There's no way we'll make it.
You'll make it. All right, so here's one of the questions. How do you take photos in a dangerous place like at the volcano? How were you able to take pictures?
So on the volcano, they do special tours. And so usually in any scenario where there's maybe danger or something like that, I usually take a tour guide, and the tour guide guides me to the place. And usually I take whenever you get a chance, do a tour guide, a photography tour guide, because your tour guide is the photographer, and then they'll show you the best places to take pictures. They'll show you like, hey, you know, nobody goes here because only photographers go here. And so I usually pay a little bit extra and take the photography tour guide. But usually with dangerous stuff like the one with the volcano, we took a tour guide and they took us up to the top. So it was safe. They gave us safety protocols first. And, you know, I think there was 2 guides with us. So we were safe at all times.
Another question is, was it hard for you to become a photographer?
So I started off really at a young age, and I started off with just a regular camera. So nowadays, people have phone cameras, and phone cameras work well, like iPhones, the Galaxy. I have an Android. Androids worked great. And so I wish I had that growing up. I just had a regular Minolta camera, if anybody can remember that brand name.
That's because we were very poor and she kept asking my parents for a camera and we couldn't afford it. So my sister was like, I'll take the Minolta.
Yeah, it was a regular old camera, and I learned how to take, it is a film camera too. So I learned how to take photography in that. But like I said, nowadays you can just use your phone, and there's a lot of different apps on your phones that you can just take pictures in. Sometimes it takes really good pictures, depending on what you want to take a picture of. Sometimes I'll use my phone camera instead of my real camera, depending on what I want to take a picture of. So don't be scared if you can't afford a camera, because your phone camera works just as well.
It says, you kind of mentioned it, but what is your favorite place to take pictures at this moment? Like, not your dream place, but right now, if you could just, you know, get up, what's your favorite place to take a picture?
If I can just go anywhere right now and take a picture, it will be probably the Red Forest National Park, which would be the big giant sequoia trees, the huge trees, the biggest trees in the world. I would love to take pictures of that if I can just go travel right now.
Is it hard to take good angles when taking pictures?
Okay, so I'm really tall, so sometimes I have to like go on my knees, or sometimes I even lay down on the floor to take the pictures of what I want. It's all about, once again, it's all about the photographer and what you're looking at. So everybody's perspective is different, and perception is different too. So it just depends on what you want to take a picture of. So sometimes if I want to take a picture of, let's say, of an animal, I usually will probably get down on the floor and get dirty. So I will be on the floor, on the ground, taking pictures of the animal in a different angle. So it just depends on what I see.
And then I'm going to tell you guys, if you guys think I'm tall, my sister's taller than me.
Yes,
Yes.
I am. And
Yeah.
don't be afraid to get dirty either. You know, if you need to get on the ground, take pictures, do it. You know, to get the best pictures, do it.
It says, what if you take a picture and it all looks the same, everything looks the same? What do you do to make it look different?
Using filters or without it. So sometimes I'll use a filter if I need to, or just sometimes I take the same picture about 20 times and just get the best picture out of those, of the 20 that I take. So
Cool.
right now I'm into a lot of photography, but right now I'm into fireworks photography. So if you go into my Instagram, you'll see my new firework pictures. And you know, when you take the firework pictures, you'll think each one of them is the same, but it's actually not, because the fireworks are different. It's the same angle, just a different burst of the fireworks.
All right, and then they want to know, do you need an assistant to carry your cameras? Because they're willing to come with you just to go into these different trips.
You know what? I don't mind, and I don't mind teaching people photography. I love photography. I'm actually I was telling I was telling you, Sylvia, earlier that we're looking for photographers for the contest that we're throwing over here. We need young photographers.
She's in charge of the Robles Bridge, which is a very famous bridge in Ohio. And so she's in charge of the nonprofit organization. So they have a lot of different people that submit pictures, and then they get to walk on the top of the bridge, like the top.
The top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking for photographers. Right now we're looking for young photographers because it's always good to get the young people involved. Just photography is the best. I think pictures always have a word, it has a saying without actually telling the story. You just look at the picture and people interpret it differently. So that's why, photography is great.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions? Anything else that anybody would like to ask? Any students? That's it.
Nothing. You can go into my Instagram. You'll be able to see all the pictures, get inspired, go out in nature. You don't have to like travel the world. You can just go, once again, to the parks in Fort Worth. There's not that many actually that I can think of. I forgot, that you go to like parks. You can even go to, the malls and take pictures of angles, like the angles of the outside of the mall, things like that. That's nature too. You're just taking the outside pictures, architectural
Pictures.
things like that.
All right. We don't have any other questions. Casey, do you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think everybody was pretty good about asking the questions in there. They were just rolling in as you're going through and talking, just questions, all these different questions popping up. I'm like, keep them coming.
Yeah, I
Your
love answering the
question
questions. I love photography. It's the best thing ever. Keeps me busy. Whenever I feel sad or whatever, I just pick up my camera and just go outside and take pictures.
So there was one more question that popped up. I'm telling you, they're coming in. Do you plan to continue being a photographer, and why?
Yes, photography is my first love. If I can do that full time, I can. I wish I could, but because it's so competitive and a lot of times photography is expensive, that's why I have my regular day job. And then after work, I do my photography, and I do it for fun. I don't sell pictures. It's just a stress reliever for me and something that I can go back and look at. But yeah, I wish I can do it forever and ever, but I just can't. But just getting the camera and going outside taking pictures is the best feeling ever.
She says that, but she's been published before. She's won awards, and she actually, and I just remembered this, you were for the photographer for the professional baseball team where you live. What is the name of I'm not a baseball person.
The Cincinnati Reds?
The Cincinnati, yeah, the Reds. Is it the football team or the baseball team?
That's a baseball team.
Okay.
I have won different awards for my photography. I've won a lot of awards in college. And once again, my professor wasn't too happy because, she kept saying my photography is bad, but it's whoever interprets your pictures. So, Sylvia might say, okay, I don't like this picture, but then I can say, this is a great picture because of this and this and that. I can just read off, whatever the picture is. So it just depends on your audience.
So are these trips self-funded, or do you have someone sponsoring you?
No, I do it on my own. So what I do is I save money, and then I plan my trip, and then I fly into wherever. So I save the money. That's why I have to keep my day job so I can afford to go on these trips.
Any one last question that came in. What's your favorite animal that you have photographed besides your dog? Or are you gonna say your dog is your favorite subject?
No, the buffaloes. The buffaloes are the best. The ones in Cutler Park in South Dakota. And if anybody goes into my Instagram page, it's all photography. Okay, all my pictures is nature photography that I take, and then you'll be able to see the buffaloes. They're the best.
What's your Instagram so I can post this?
It's TEVI 23, which is my name backwards. So it's Tevi 23.
Okay, I went ahead and I send it off. Awesome. Well, I thank you for being here today. And let me just turn to the audience for a second about what to expect on Friday. Casey, do you want to do any last minute instructions of what to expect Friday?
Coaches, check your email. There's some stuff that got sent out today, just kind of an overview of the coaches meeting that we had, but the big thing is buses. Make sure your campuses know that they are having a special bus come to pick you up, so that way you do not get left behind. So the times and everything were sent out there. Also sent out the schedule of the event for the days, so you can kind of see when your teams are going to be competing and kind of where. But just take a look at that, and if you got any questions, like I said, you can always reach out to us and we'll get in there and help you out as much as we can.
All right, sounds good. All right, well, thank you, Yvette, for coming on. I'll definitely, I get to see her pictures on a daily basis of where she's at, and we're at work here many times, and she's like, you know, I'm over here, and I'm thinking I'm at work in my office bored, and she's out there taking pictures somewhere. So I'm always excited to see where she's at. You never know where she's going to go next and what picture. So follow her on that Tevi, TEVI 23 Instagram, and you'll see where she's at presently. So
Right.
Thank you, Yvette, and thank you, everybody. We will definitely see you guys on Friday. I'm excited to see how this speaker and the other speakers really were able to give you ideas of what to do with your project. So thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, Yvette. Bye,
Bye.
Casey. See you guys
Bye.
later. Bye.